Hey everyone, so in this question we want to figure out by using the factor theorem, all right, we want to figure out whether these polynomials x minus 4 and x plus 1 will divide g of x, right? So let me remind you again about the remainder theorem and the factor theorem. So for the remainder theorem is saying if I divide any polynomial f of x by x minus c, then the remainder and f of c, they are equal to each other. All right, so I don't really need to do the synthetic division or the long division in order to find the remainder. I just plug in c, and you notice here c the opposite of whatever you see here. If you see minus c, that the opposite number. Okay, so the thing is, I just need to plug the c inside of the function and figure out. By consequence here, what's going to happen is if x minus c is a factor of f of x, all right? So what does mean? If x minus c will divide f of x with a zero remainder, therefore f of c will give you 0 automatically. So if you want to figure out whether this polynomial will divide the f of x or g of x, right? In this case, you just have to divide, you just have to plug in the number, all right, inside of g of x and see what's going to be the result. So for a, we're going to plug in 4, all right, and for b, we're going to plug in -1. So in a, we want to figure out whether g of 4 is it equals to 0. If it is equal to 0, then is divisible and the remainder is 0 as well. And the same thing we want to do here, g of -1, is it equals to 0 or not? Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start with b because it seems to be easier. So for question b, I'm just going to calculate g of -1. So if I plug it in, it's going to be -1 to the 4th minus 10 times -1 cube plus 35 times -1 squared minus 50 times -1 plus 24. All right, so -1 to the 4th is going to be a +1. -1 cube is going to be a -1 here. So -1 times -10 is going to give me +10. -1 squared is going to be a +1. So +1 plus 35 is going to be 35. And here we have -50 and -1. Whenever we multiply them, it's going to be +50. And this is +24. So absolutely, this is definitely different than 0, right? So it's not 0. So if it's not 0, then we can conclude that x plus 1 is not a factor of g of x. And you're all set. All right. So for a, we're going to do a similar thing. So we're going to look for g of 4. And this is more work. So this is going to be a 4 to the 4th minus 10 times 4 cube plus 35 times 4 squared minus 50 times 4 plus 24. So plug in the numbers. 4 to the 4th is going to be 256 minus 10. All right. 4 to the 3rd is going to be 64. 64 times 10 is going to be, I can do this right away. So 64 times 10 is going to be 640 plus, okay, 4 squared is going to be 16. 35 times 16 is going to be 560. Of course, I didn't do it by mind. I used my calculator earlier. And then minus 50 times 4 is going to be minus 200. And then plus 24. So what we're going to do here, we're going to add the positive numbers together. So you're going to be 256 plus 560 plus 24. So 24 and 56. You're going to be 80, 280. All right, 80 plus 60, you're going to be 140. All right, 140, 640, 640, 840. All right, and it happened negative as well is minus 840. Minus 640 minus 200 is 840 as well. All right, so we get to 0. So once we get to 0, our conclusion here, then x minus 4 is a factor of g of x, and you are all set.